Okay, so we've got Batman, Superman, okay, Marvel. All right. So yeah, okay, Brave, Selfless, okay. True Father, Dolby Digital Intro, I don't know what that is. Wonder Woman, Cape, okay, Cape, okay. So, all right. So I guess generally when we think of the word hero, we think of all these comic book characters, you know. And yeah, I really like comic books. I've probably read every single Batman comic ever printed. I've read all of them pretty much. So yeah, I like superheroes as well. But today I want to talk about a different kind of hero. And for me, my hero is my dad. My dad's name is Tibor Zoltan Vitai. So his parents basically got the list of Hungarian boys' names and picked the two most generic popular names and stuck them together on one man. So that's my dad's names. And yeah, he was born in Hungary in 1952 in a town with about six Z's in its name, which I can't pronounce. And that's where he grew up. But actually, at the age of 4, the Soviets invaded, and he fled with his younger brother and his parents. And his parents carried him and his younger brother on a blanket for 50 miles to the Austrian border, and that's how they escaped. And Rodion and any other like Russians here, no hate. Okay, no hate. We're brothers. We're brothers. But yeah, that's how he escaped. And from there, he came to London, and he was a refugee in London. Yeah, so from the age of 4, he lived in London. And I guess today with my talk, I want to just tell you about why my dad inspires me. Normally, I like to prepare my talks. I prepare them to a T. Like I write down everything meticulously, and I really try to get every point exactly right, exactly what I want to say. And I do a lot of research and this and that. But I think when it comes to talking about a person so dear to you, it's hard to put them in a box. You can't put people in boxes, you know. So I'm just gonna, yeah, I'll see how it goes, but I'll give myself a time limit of about 10, 15 minutes so that doesn't drag on. But I'm just going to talk about what my dad means to me. And as you listen to me, maybe you can think about the people in your life and what they mean to you. So it's also very much about your story, not just the story I have to tell. Yeah, so my dad, yeah, he grew up in London, and then, just like all of our parents, eventually he was witnessed to when he was about 25 or something, 24, and he joined this church. And yeah, soon after, a couple of years later, he got blessed and started family life with my mum here in London. And then 7 years later, I popped out. 2 years after that, my sister popped out. So then just the two of us, yeah, the two kids. Yeah, I guess this is where it gets a bit sad, if you don't mind, but they'll get hopeful eventually. All right. But yeah, around that time, yeah, in 2002, my dad suffered a major stroke, which actually left him in a coma for quite a few months. And basically, everyone thought he was going to die. So everyone thought he was going to die, and that was it, you know. So yeah, but actually, he woke up from it, which was a miracle in itself. No one expected that, you know, incredible miracle, which I'm so grateful for to this day. You know, so he woke up from it. But when he woke up, he lost all function of his right side of his body, and he also lost all of his speech as well, so he couldn't speak as well. And for my dad, he's a very sharp, witty guy. Like he is super sarcastic, and he has a great sense of humor. So that was quite hard for him, you know. But somehow over the years, he's managed to find different ways to express that wit as well. But yeah, that was quite difficult for him, I guess. But yeah, over the years, you know, he faced many difficulties, but my dad was always very much a positive guy, optimistic, you know, always. I don't know how he did it, you know, I just don't know how he did it, but he's always optimistic. And whenever anyone tells him any news, anyone tells him anything great about their lives, he doesn't get jealous. He goes, fantastic, great, brilliant, you know, and that is so beautiful, you know. Yeah, so he did physio and he did speech therapy and he really worked hard at it and did all these different things. He couldn't do the things he used to love doing, right? But he found other things to replace them with. He took up house plants and things like that, you know, and he started making all these quizzes. So he designed like about 100 quizzes, which he gave to his speech therapy group, you know, just finding other ways to express himself. Um, yeah, and always optimistic like that. So, yeah, with my dad, I think he's suffered just a lot on a personal level. I don't know many people who have suffered as much as him, but I've never seen him cry for his own situation. But if I was to sum up my dad in a nutshell, this is what it'd be like. And I guess I'll give you a situation. So, yeah, sometimes we watch TV together, or we watch X Factor or Britain's Got Talent or something like that. And we'll just be watching it, and then suddenly some little girl will come on the stage. She can't even sing that well. She's trying to sing some opera song. And then I'll hear some kind of noise coming from my dad's side of the room. I look over at him, and he's just blubbing away, crying, like a baby. And yeah, I guess despite everything, he's always kept that sense of beauty, you know. And that really moves me actually, because you know, I've never had the sense that he pitied himself, but he always saw beauty, and I think he gave that to me as well. That's something I really is really important to me. It was part of my character as well. Um, yeah, I guess my relationship with my dad has been very much up and down. I guess as it is for all of us. At times I felt really sad that I didn't have a father growing up. That's how I felt. I didn't have a father growing up. I didn't have somebody to go to the park with me, to teach me how to ride a bike, to play football with me, to play catch with me. All those things I missed out on, and I felt really sad about that. And that caused tension in our relationship because I could never express that to him. And, it was like this unspoken tension. Yeah, unspoken tension. Only recently did I realize that uh, I guess this grief is valid. Um, and it's valid, and it is. I did lose something there. Um, I didn't lose a father, but I lost important dimensions of the relationship, right? Things which you never get back. And when you lose somebody you love, if any of you have experienced grief, they don't, in a way that there's always that sense of loss. It stays with you, but at the same time, there's a way you can build a deep intimacy out of that. So early this year, I looked at a picture of my dad. We've got on my living room. My living room. I looked at a picture of my dad and my family, and it's a picture when we were all kids. So my sister and me, when we were just little kids, and my dad and my mom, before everything happened. And we just looked really happy. And we took it at a photography studio, and I imagined myself as the photographer. I jumped into the frame, and I pretended I was the person behind the camera, and I looked at this family. And I just imagined my sister running off to the other side of, causing mischief. She's only 2 years old, running off to the other side of the room. I imagined myself, maybe screaming or, just talking some nonsense. And my dad trying to grab me. He's kind of holding me like this, trying to keep me in place. Maybe I'll show you the picture actually as well. I might show you some pictures of my dad as well. Um, yeah, is that the right one? Yeah, that's my dad there. Very, very chic and stylish. And always cracking a joke, as you can see through here. You might see some people you recognize as well. That's the tribe's mum. That's Josh Thompson's dad. Who else is there? Uncle Franklin was here somewhere. That's Uncle Derek, if any of you know him. But yeah, this picture. So I imagine myself in the frame, and you see my sister just keen to get out of there. And well, I guess I'm fairly chill in that picture. Um, but yeah, I just imagine myself in the frame, and I looked at this family, and yeah, I guess what I realized is, yeah, if I go back to the gallery views, I can see you all maybe. Yeah, what I realized is, turn this, stop showing that as well. Yeah, what I realized is that that loss was not only my loss. I didn't get to have a dad around to ride a bike with me, teach me how to swim, this and that. But also my dad didn't get to have a son, or didn't get to have that with me, right? And we share the same loss, actually. And when I realized that, it actually broke down the tension and it created a deep intimacy with my dad. It made me realize that even though there's this loss, actually we share that loss. And in that there's a strange kind of intimacy. It's like he's the only person who could know how that feels for me. And he does understand. And I didn't realize that my whole life, but he does understand how that feels. I always felt no one understands how I feel. But my dad does understand. He shares that same Loss. Uh, yes, something I've struggled with for many years is, I guess, seeing the good in myself. I often put myself down, or I focus on the negative things in myself. But the past year, I've actively worked on seeing the good in myself. I do a few creepy things, you might consider it creepy, but yeah, for a couple months, I did this thing, I stuck to it, even though it's uncomfortable. I looked at myself in the mirror every morning, and I said to myself, I love you. You're enough just as you are. I love you to bits, those kind of stuff. And I hugged myself. I did all those kind of things, uh, just to, if you like, brainwash myself in a positive direction for once. So and actually, as I did that, I started to notice these good things in myself that I hadn't noticed before, especially my creativity. Uh, yeah, my creativity and my appreciation for beauty. And when you start to notice these good things about yourself, it kind of changes the way you look at the world. You're a lot more grateful to be alive. Life, you feel like you can celebrate life. Life is something to be grateful for. And every day is a blessing. You can feel that way sometimes. I don't feel like that all the time, but half of the time at least, I feel that way. And it's nice to feel that way for a change. Um, so when you feel that way, it changes your perspective, especially my creativity. I noticed that when I'm very authentic and vulnerable, then what I produce is meaningful for people. People might message me and say that, that thing I wrote really something. Uh, okay, can you hear me now? Am I back? Am I back? All right, yeah, I'm back. Okay. I don't know what I last said, but I guess my point is I notice especially my creativity. I think that's the thing that I'm most grateful for about myself, that's in my life, that I'd say I appreciate most about myself is that creativity. And that's really meaningful for me when I can write a song where I express my heart and it means another. Oh no, the internet. Okay, I'm gonna turn off. I have to turn off. Okay, this is really frustrating. Internet. Our broadband's not been working all week, and I've had a go at the customer services, but it's still not sorted it out. So, uh, okay, can you hear me okay now, Alex?
Yes, wasn't
All right,
that bad when you broke
all
up. It
right.
was just for 2 seconds. So yeah.
Oh, cool. I'll just keep going and pick up what you can, and if it doesn't make sense, yeah, you can ask me about it later. So. Yeah, I guess my point is my creativity, especially. And I noticed when I'm inauthentic, when I'm trying to show off how smart I am, use fancy words, BS like that, then people don't connect to it. And it shows when I'm inauthentic, right? It really shows, actually. But when I'm vulnerable and I wear my heart on my sleeve or I put it out there, people connect to it. And I realized this vulnerability came from my dad. I've noticed this good thing in myself, and I thought, where does this come from? And I could only trace it back to my dad, because he's a very vulnerable person. One time we were in church, in church at Sunday service, and one person played this video of a girl singing opera, and my dad was just sobbing out loud in front of the whole church when he heard that song. It was Mio Babino Caro, if you know that song. I probably butchered the pronunciation, but yeah, my dad was just sobbing out loud to that, and he just didn't care what people thought. And yeah, I realized even though he can't really speak to me as free as he wants to, he's always been showing me how to live by his example, just by being himself. You know. So yeah, I guess that's one thing I'm really grateful to my dad for. It's just that vulnerability, and I think as a guy, especially as a guy, it's quite hard to be vulnerable. Sometimes you feel you have to keep up an image, you have to be an alpha male, that kind of thing. I definitely felt that pressure a lot in school. I had to fit in. I had to put up a certain image of myself. But my dad taught me it's okay to cry as a man. It's okay to be emotional, and actually, it's a really, it's part of life, and it's a wonderful thing. When you can share your heart with another person, and it opens your eyes, I would say as well. So it's good to cry as a guy. Just not all the time, but it's good to do it at certain times when it's appropriate. And I guess my dad showed me that, and that fuels my creativity. I realized that's how my creativity comes about. It's a vulnerable act where you put a piece of yourself out into the universe, and anybody can do with it what they want. They can say anything they want about it, And if it's inauthentic, people pick up on it, you know. So yeah, I guess that's what I appreciate about my dad. And I would say the other thing I very much appreciate is his optimism. So even now, yeah, my dad's been stuck in bed for a year now, where he lives. But every time I come to him, and I always say to him, Mr. T, Mr. T. That's what everyone calls him, Mr. T. You know, so I say, Mr. T, Mr. T, I've got a visitor. And then and then all he does, he goes, yeah, yeah. Every time I see him, and his face lights up. He's so happy to see me, And even yeah, whenever I tell him any good news, how university is going, or some nice person I met, he just goes fantastic. He just sticks his thumb up like that. And I think that's so beautiful because I used to be, I guess, intimidated by people who are bright and optimistic and hopeful like that. I used to think it's insincere, when we're from this, I'm this tiny speck, I'm this tiny creature on this tiny planet in this tiny corner of this solar system, of this galaxy, of this cosmos, what does it mean? What's the point of it all? There's no meaning to life, right? I used to think that way, and I was intimidated by people who had hope or who were bright and seemed to celebrate life. How can you celebrate this life? It's such a burden. But actually, I realized the deepest people, the deepest heart, and the strongest people are those who have hope and those who are bright, because they're not naive to the reality of life, but they have the courage to still show up. And it's a vulnerable thing to do, to be hopeful, because your hope doesn't always work out as you would wish it to. So anyway, that's something he taught me as well, that actually to have hope and to be a bright, optimistic person is actually a sign of strength, not of naivety. So yeah, that's another thing I appreciate about him. Yeah, I guess just a lot of things I appreciate about my dad, and yeah, I guess I want to bring things towards a close here. Um, but one thing, yeah, I guess to end things off, I would say I've realized in the past year how important it is to tell the people we love what they mean to us while they're still around. In our community in the UK and maybe in other communities, in your communities, we lost quite a few special people over the past year. Some people I was very close to. I was really sad when they passed away. It really, really broke my heart, and some of these guys passed away. Uh, but actually, ultimately, what I realized is, I mean, there's that deep regret that I didn't tell them what they meant to me while they were still around, right? And that's not gonna, I don't think that will ever leave me, that regret. But what I've decided to do is, okay, I can't say it to them anymore, but I can say it to my dad. I can say it to my dad. I can tell him what he means to me. So I think that's really a precious thing we can offer to another person. Because actually, in the moments where we tell another person what they mean to us, when I go to my dad, I always leave saying, I love you, dad, every time now. I didn't used to say that, but now I say it every time because sometimes tomorrow never comes, right? And if I don't say it while he's around, I know I'll live to regret it. And it's just good to tell the people we love what they mean to us. And obviously, talk is cheap sometimes. You don't have to say it with words, but show it through the way you relate with that person. But it is good to say it out loud as well. I think whenever someone's told me what I mean to them, I light up. It just makes me feel amazing. Like, maybe I'm doing all right in life. Maybe I'm doing all right. So yeah, I guess, and that's something we'll talk about when we do the reflection discussion. But it's just good to tell the people we love what they mean to us while they're still around, because we don't know how long they'll be around for. Um, and I want to acknowledge as well that all of you will be in a different place in your relationships, and it's not simple. There's no answer to fix relationships. They're not something you can fix. But it's just about, yeah, I guess learning from experiences and, I guess gratitude. That's what it is. When I did that thing where I said I love you to myself in the mirror, actually it changed my perspective on life. And I noticed good things in myself and I wondered where they came from. And I realized they come from my dad. So yeah, I guess gratitude's part of it. Um, yeah, so I guess when we realize what these people mean to us and the people that have shaped us, then it also makes you think, what kind of a person do I want to be? What do I want to leave behind for other people, right? When I look back on my life, and that's something we'll also reflect about, is who do I want to be for other people? And that's a really beautiful thing to consider, because it really gets you in the right mindset. So yeah, we'll do the reflection anyway, and discussion, and you can hear about that. Yeah, so I guess we can go into the reflection. It kind of brings me to an end of what I was going to say. Um, yeah, just I guess thanks for listening. Yeah, I didn't know what I was going to say exactly. I just kind of, thought about it a bit. But yeah, thanks for listening.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, it's such a heartfelt moment, sharing about the personal side of your life and how you, instead of being a victim to it and feeling like you missed out, you just, yeah, try to get some positivity and understand your father as well, his pain, and appreciate him. But yeah, as he said, you've both been through the same experience of not being able to have that father child son kind of full experience, as he said, as one might see on a TV uh, movie. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing and being vulnerable with us. And yeah, so we'll have 15 minutes of reflection now. Um, the questions I've put in the chat. Yeah, the first question is, who is a person that shaped you? And after that, Benny prepared for us, what did that person teach you? And what would you like to say to that person? And what kind of legacy do you yourself want to leave behind for other people to appreciate you? So yeah, I'll play some reflective music if that's okay, and you guys can look at the chat and get the questions from there.
I'll
Uh,
stop share my screen then, yeah?
uh, yeah, or you can keep them out. What do you guys prefer? I think I can't play the music, unfortunately, unless you stop sharing. So
Oh yeah, I'll stop sharing, yeah, yeah,
okay,
so you can see
cool.
in the chat.
Yeah, and I'll share this screen with some music, relaxing piano music. Okay, thank you. So grab a pen and pencil, uh, and yes, enjoy the reflection. It's going to be 15 minutes. Okay, we've got 2 more minutes of reflection. All right. So you can continue scribbling away for the last few words you want to. You can do that within the groups. But yeah, we're going to go into small discussion groups now. So, yes.